Greetings. This is my first vlog episode that I've done in the year 2021. I was just getting used to saying the year 2020 and all of a sudden, kabam, it's 2021. And I am not used to it. But I never am, I mean, every time this happens, and you would think after almost 60 of these happening to me that I would get used to this whole, oh, it's a new year thing. But no. Maybe because I just don't write checks as much anymore. So needing to write down the date, it just doesn't happen that often if I'm not writing checks. I think I've had the same checkbook ledger for the past 3 years, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember the last time I wrote a check. Anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about the dawning of the age of Aquarius. And I should burst into song, I won't right now because I'm a little hoarse. Not like, I'm a tiny pony, but I've, for whatever reason, gotten a little hoarse lately. So I'm not going to inflict my singing upon you right now. But yeah, I do want to talk about the dawning of the age of Aquarius. People were making a really big thing December 21st, which was the winter solstice of this current time frame. There was the alignment of Jupiter with Saturn and all of the fortuitous meanings that were said to be happening, and people were saying, yes, this is it. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. We are now in the age of Aquarius, and that's a bunch of hooey. That's wishful thinking. We don't transition into anything with the flip of a switch. It's not like that. Winter solstice itself, although it's the return of the light, it happens incrementally. It's not like, oh, all of a sudden we have more light. It's a gradual incremental increase of light following the darkest night of the year, which is, of course, what winter solstice is about. It's the return of the light. And it's the same with a season. When a season changes, it's not like immediately the temperatures are different or all the leaves fall off the tree in one fell swoop or all of the flowers burst up. I mean, it's an incremental thing. Many things are incremental. The setting of the sun, day turning into night. It's not like light, suddenly dark. And in the morning, it's not dark, suddenly light. Again, incremental. It's the word of this particular blog post anyway. Yeah, so this incremental shifting of the ages. For those of you unfamiliar with the ages, it follows the zodiac, but unlike the zodiac with personal sun signs, which starts with Aries and then goes around and comes back around to Pisces, being the final of the 12 signs, the ages go in the opposite direction. So right now we are shifting out of Pisces and into Aquarius. Each age is about 2,160 years in length. So a little over 2 millennia, 2,160 years. It's approximate. Nature doesn't really care about our Gregorian calendars, not much anyway. But yes, 2,160 years is the average length of the ages. And then each age, when it transitions from one into the other, there's a 200-year overlap. So if I had a circle here and a circle here, there would be this, subset symbol in math that overlap, that mandorla shape, that period of time is 200 years. And there's an apex, or the middle of that 200 years, where we are less out of the prior age and more into the incoming age, but again, incremental. We're not going to see the differences starkly, suddenly, like the flipping of the switch. We're going to have the incremental thing. So I want to talk a little bit about all of this because it matters. It's important to us. that we're here at this time. If you're watching this and if you continue to watch this, you're going to discover that, yes, indeed, you are here at an unprecedentedly historic time that has never been seen before in human history. And I'll get into that. So the age, well, each age has a personality type, a hallmark, and there are pros and cons to each age, things that are wonderful about each age and things that are challenging, just like anything else in the universe, including you, including your day, including anyone you know and love. There are the things that are wonderful, the pros, and the things that are more challenging, the cons. And yeah, we humans, we like this stuff. We like the nuance, the full spectrum of all of the things dark and light to comprise our lives, or we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have this universe. There would be something else instead. So we welcome the pros and the cons. So Pisces follow the age of the Aries. The age of Aries, Aries, the god of war, Mars being the planet of the age of Aries and of the sun sign of Aries. Aries was an age that was full of competition and conquering. The patriarchy was birthed prior to this age, and all anyone had ever known during the age of Aries was taking over somebody else's something. I see your wife, I want her, I'm taking her. I see your property, your donkey, your camel, I want them, I'm taking them. I see your land, I see your kingdom, I see your XYZ, and I'm taking them. It was a time of conquesting, of going after something, and yes, taking it. So Aries was giving way to Pisces. And again, they had their own 200-year overlap then. Yeshua, some people call him Jesus, was born in this time. And I know people mention things like, oh, he's not real, he was mythic. So I'm going to say my current belief on it as a very former, very ex-Christian who once was very, very much in Christianity for over 30 years. I'm going to say that my current perspective on all of that is that Yeshua, that's what his mama would have called him. Jesus was not, they didn't have J's. So no, she didn't call him Jesus. But I'll refer to him back and forth as Jesus and Yeshua, just so you know who I'm talking about. I believe Yeshua was real, a real human being born at that time, someone who was very self-aware, someone who wanted to wake up his people. He was a way shower. His followers became known as followers of the way, and there were many, many dozens of forms of followers of the way, so many different versions of Christianity in the century following his death. That is, if you do believe he actually died. There are so many different rabbits that I could chase in the telling of this tale, but I'm going to try to stick to what I intend to stick to here. So Yeshua enters the scene, and he is helping, among the other things he came to do, to usher out the age of Aries and bring in the age of Pisces. So he and other way showers introduces the idea, the hallmark of the age of Pisces, which was unconditional love. The Aries people had not heard of this thing. They were used to taking and conquering and dominating and warring and, yeah, combative, cutthroat competition. That's what they were about. So here come these people. The Buddha was another one. Yeshua, people who were saying love. Love is the most powerful thing. Love is all there is. And the Aries clinging people heard this, and to them this sounded weak and frothy and threatening, because anything new is always initially threatening. And they killed off all of those harbingers of love. Yes, they did. They definitely did. So Pisces, along with the wonderful aspect of unconditional love, also brought with it some of the aspects that were working in the age of Aries. So, I mean, this is all about human development too. So we're maturing as we go from age to age, and the age is a reflection of the stage of development that we are in at the time as a human species. So we go from the sort of mine, you know, kind of 2-year-old, like, you know, if I want it, it's mine kind of mindset. If you've had a 2-year-old, you're grokking with me, you get it, into unconditional love. But we retained patriarchy, so it was still male domination. We retained hierarchy. And Pisces, the name of the game in Pisces was find your guru, know your place, follow your guru, do what you're told, be be dependent, even be codependent with your authority leaders. Don't make waves, don't question authority, or you might meet your demise. So there was a lot of control. And the guru, by the way, the gurus were all men. There were no allowed female gurus because patriarchy doesn't make way for that. So the women who attempted to teach, who attempted to heal, were declared to be witches. And we know what happened to them. They didn't fare well. They were often killed. So I'm going to be looking at my notes here on Facebook occasionally as I do this, because I don't want to miss anything. Okay. All right, so with each transition, those 200-year overlaps, you have the people who cling to the old way. They want to cling to what's familiar, to what they understand, to what feels comfortable. So in the transition of Aries to Pisces, 2,160-ish years ago, and again, it was a 200-year range of transition. You had the people who clung to the old ways, and you had the people who felt the draw, the pull, the calling of the new way. And there's a clash there. It's like having two different types of humans living on the earth at the same time. And in those 200 years, it reaches a peak, an apex, where tensions are tight and they're fierce, and then it relaxes as it moves in. And that's what happened then. 2,160 years later, we are now finding ourselves here and now in this 200-year transition from that age of Pisces, with its emphasis upon unconditional love and patriarchy and hierarchy and follow your guru and do what you're told and be obedient and all of that. And now we have the entry, the dawning of the age of Aquarius. So what are the hallmarks of the age of Aquarius, and what will we be taking with us from Pisces into Aquarius? And I should utter this caveat, perhaps I should have done this up front, but I'm an old soul who's experiencing a lifetime of being a neophyte. So I have this sort of wide-eyed wonder and insatiable curiosity about many different topics about which I feel very passionate, and I want to explore them deeply. I'm a lifelong student. I'm never not learning. So I'm learning about this. I am not an expert in astrology, in the ages. This is what I've accumulated and picked up, and I love to do dot connecting, finding things that are not necessarily obviously connected and finding the way in which they are. And then I get this lovely aha moment about it. And then I get excited and then I share it. So that's why I do vlogs. And that's why I express. I believe one of my personal callings on planet Earth at this time was to experience many things deeply, and then to be able to express them, to articulate them on behalf of others. Not like I've got all the answers, but to inspire you to do your own soul inquiry, your own digging, your own exploration of your internal and external universes. So, yeah. And also, I love to inspire people to see and be who they truly are. And I do that all the time. I can't not do that. It's whether you're having a so-called casual conversation with me, or you're stuck with me in line at the grocery store, or even with a mask on, I'm going to connect. Yeah. I find human beings to be endlessly fascinating, and I love to find the ways in which we have common ground and the ways in which we are unique, and share all that. So yeah, that's a sidebar caveat about me. So don't take anything that I'm saying here as absolute truth. This is fodder for consideration, and it's my personal perspective and my personal journey. And as always, your mileage may vary. So you trust your soul. And please share in the comments if you have other ideas or things to attach to this, because I don't want to stop exploring things just because I happen to be excited about a particular perspective. All right, trying to be cognizant of time, yours and mine. Let's see. Okay, so we were talking about the age. Oh, yes. So the hallmarks of the age of Aquarius. So Pisces is a water sign, which is very emotional. In fact, Pisces may be the deepest sign, and it's highly intuitive. So aside from unconditional love, there's this propensity for deep intuition, and that's some beautiful stuff. And we're taking that with us into the age of Aquarius. So the age of Aquarius is an air sign, and that means intellectual, cerebral, of the mind, whereas Pisces would be emotional, deep processing of the heart, of the more somatic, the body things. So we're keeping all that good stuff. And what we get to shift into in Aquarius, rather than following a guru, we become our own guru. Aquarius is an age of innovation and technology and higher thinking, higher learning. It's been called the age of the practice, the age where we learn to speak better, the age of the practical mystic. So instead of following a guru, we become the guru. We are self-actualized beings. We are self-referencing beings, authoritating beings. So we each get to step into our own deeper, higher wisdom. And rather than being dependent, we are now shifting into, well, there's a stage of independence that we're going through in this shift, the transition between the ages. But in Aquarius, we will become more interdependent. So we'll go from dependent to independent to interdependent. That means in the age of Aquarius, rather than the sense of rugged individualism and every man is an island and every person for themselves, what we're going to step into is this, whoa, I am this beautifully unique, diverse individual. I'm here for a reason, and I'm part of the collective. So it's diversity within unity. And there's this underlying deep, profound awareness, not just a cognitive concept, but an embodied somatic awareness that I am part of the all, that I'm not just a finger, I am part of the hand. Not just this, but this that's connected to all of this and all of this and all of this and all of this, everything, part of the ecosystem even. We will be aware that what happens to one affects all, and what happens to anyone out there, the all, also happens to the one. One for all and all for one. That whole thing is a beautiful imagery of the interdependence that we're going to be stepping into, that we are currently stepping into in the age of Aquarius. Because again, we don't go from one to the other like cut off and then start. There's the overlap. There is the time of transition. There is the incremental shifting into one age to another. What else do I want to say about the age of Aquarius? Let me look here. Let me see. Okay, we'll also be moving more. Well, so within Pisces, left over from Aries, continued in Pisces. We have this sense of separation and scarcity and competition. In the Age of Aquarius, we're shifting more into the sense of unity, of abundance, and of cooperation, collaborative cooperation. So all of that is currently happening as well. I don't know about you, but that excites me. This fits me. This fuels me. But, you know, I am obviously one of the ones who is feeling and heeding and honoring and going after the calling of the Age of Aquarius. That's where I'm headed. There are other people here on planet Earth. I mean, you've noticed, you've seen this, you've seen the division, you've felt this divide. People who are still clinging to the age of Pisces. It's all they've ever known, and they're terrified. When we're going through a transition, we tend to sense that something's ending, something's dying. And if we identify with the age that is dying, we're going to feel like the world is coming to an end. Hence, always there are these cries, these fears, these expressions of the end is near, and all of the end time stuff that was going on back in the days of Yeshua that was already fulfilled in the first century, 70 AD, when Jerusalem fell and the temple was destroyed. That was the ending that was prophesied then. Okay? Done. Finished. Complete. We are living in what was then described as the new heavens, new earth. Yeah, it was never meant to be anything other than the next human stage of development. It wasn't like the cosmos was going to transform. Sorry to disappoint those of you who thought you were hanging on for that or that it's still coming, because what they were talking about, done, 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 done. I didn't know I was going to do that. That just came out. Okay, where was I? I am sidetracking myself, which is not a challenging thing to do. Okay, so the people who are clinging to the old ways. So they're believing that if they're obedient enough, if they're loyal enough, if they find their hero, their savior figure, their guru, their leader, if they find him and glomp onto him and follow him, and it would still be a him because it's still a very patriarchal era in the age of Pisces. Have you noticed? They're going to find him and they're going to cling to him and they're going to obey him because they believe if they do so, he will usher them back to the mythological fantasy glory days of old. So things like Make America Great Again. It's a perfect example of people clinging to something that's dying. And what you're seeing is the death throes of people who know, they feel it in their bones, that what they've always known and what they identify with is dying, and they're terrified. And then there are others on the planet at the same time, in this same overlapping of the two ages, who are hearing and feeling and heeding this dawning, this emerging, this new life coming into the age that is dawning, the age of Aquarius. And we're excited because we know somehow, without knowing up here, we know deep in our bones that we get to take all of the good stuff. We get to take that unconditional love. We get to take that deep intuition that we've learned to hone and to use in our own lives. And we get to take it with us into the age of Aquarius and use it along with discovering that, oh my gosh, I am my own guru. I am a practical mystic. I am here for this. And I am to find my gift in this age that is dawning, not just for selfish reasons, no, for altruistic humanitarian reasons, because Aquarius is all about taking what you've got and pouring it out like the water bearer for the good of all and receiving what everybody else is pouring out. It's an exciting time to be alive. And it's also a really hard time in which to be alive because we are in the middle of that transition, okay? So backing up, a year ago, January of 2020, you know, when we still thought it was going to be such a good year, you remember? January 2020, when we were all eager and excited, like, yes, new digits, this is so cool. Back then, you know, before the end of January, when things suddenly went, back then, I was aware, I've always been aware that I'm here on planet Earth in this incarnation to be part of the ushering in of the shift of the ages. I've always known this. I don't know how I've always known this. I've just always known this. And it's been confirmed time after time after time after time, including by a friend of mine who was a mentor who had been mentored by Edgar Cayce. And anyway, this was part of what she passed on to me, is this awareness that I'm here for this shift. I know that sounds grandiose, and I won't apologize for that. It's one of the things I know about me. Yeah. And it's not just me. If you're hearing this, if you're still watching this, if you're feeling this, so are you. So it's not just me. Because the Age of Aquarius is not about a me anything, it's about we. We're turning that M upside down. But anyway, a year ago, when we were still in our naivete of being excited about 2020, I had this canvas. I picked it up at a yard sale. It was a very interesting canvas. I saw it as I was driving down the street, and my car pulls into yard sales without me thinking about it. It's almost second nature. I saw this canvas from a distance, and it was a circular canvas on a frame, a regular canvas for an artist, mounted on half of two triangular canvases. So like this and this, two right-angled isosceles, I think, triangles that were separated. There was a gap in the middle and then the circle over the top. It was intriguing looking. And it was covered with this god-awful mess of glued on cardboard and paper stuff and yucky browns and oranges, and it was gross. But I knew I could do something fun with it because I love to take ugly art and make it beautiful. So I took it home. I peeled off all the crud. I tried to get the glue globs off, but it wouldn't come off even with a heat gun. I didn't want to cause damage to the canvas. And I primed the whole thing with primer, and I waited for inspiration about what to do with this because it felt important. It was heavy laden with meaning. And it sat at the bottom of the basement stairs for almost 2 years, with a little corner being used like a handrail when we would go down the steps. And suddenly, one morning in January of 2020, when I was still in that naive state of thinking 2020 was so cool, I woke up with the image of what to do with it. I saw flowing blue on the triangles and this glowing, vibrant, metallic copper with rivers of gold pouring off of it into the blue. And to me, it was the image in my mind. I mean, I heard the words, Aquarius dawning. So I hopped out of bed and I ran downstairs and I painted the thing. It took me, I don't know, 2 or 3 days of painting it, and I loved it. Even the glue globs, once they were primed and painted, became part of the mystery. It was texture. It was amazing. And I was in a couple of art shows going into February. And so I was going to put it in the art shows, and I put a very high price tag on it so that nobody would buy it. But if they did, I would at least be compensated in my grief at letting go of a masterpiece I did not want to release. And the week that I finished it, I remember coming on Facebook and showing a picture of it and talking about what it was called, Aquarius Dawning. And several of my friends actually wrote to me and said, are you aware that the apex, that midpoint, the pinnacle of the 200-year overlap between the age of Pisces and the age of Aquarius, that tipping point that I know I was born to be here for, was coming up that Sunday. Sunday, January 26th, 2020 was the tipping point when we shifted out of the predominance of the age of Pisces into the predominance of the age of Aquarius. And again, it's incremental, day by day. And it was the same week that we all here in the US became aware that the virus happening in China was not some China limited, weird distance, safely away from us thing, but that we had the first cases here in the United States. There was a case in Washington, just above Oregon, where I live, and it would be a matter of time before it moved down. And we'd already seen, I mean, the day of the apex was the height of the worst of the first wave of coronavirus in China. That felt momentous to me. It felt like it mattered to me that I had been inspired to make this painting, that I discovered as soon as I was done with the painting that the apex that I had been looking for, thinking, I hope it's in my lifetime, was not just in my lifetime, it was that freaking Sunday. That was huge for me, huge. Yeah. The painting did not sell. It's in my living room. It will always be mine. I'm not releasing it. There is no price I would accept for it. I'm willing to make replications of it if anyone happens to fall in love with it, because I can do a rendition of it using wood. That would be just as beautiful and suitable for framing or hanging. It doesn't need a frame. So that's just an aside. It's not everybody's cup of tea. My art is, like all art, subjective. You fall in love with it or you don't. And I don't want anybody who doesn't fall in love with it to get it. So I'm in love with mine. I'm keeping it. That's that. Yes. So we passed over the apex a year ago, and we have been incrementally moving more into, I was doing it this way, the age of Aquarius ever since then. And the clashes, I mean, come on, people. The year 2020 was nothing if not an eruption of the clashes between the people who are clinging to Pisces and the promise of the golden days of yore that never did exist and won't again, and the people who are being called into the age of Aquarius with all that it does promise, because this is expiring, this is dawning. And I think we have a choice in the matter. Maybe listening to this will let you know you have a choice, but I'm hoping it's still possible for people to shift from one to the other and align with what's coming alive versus aligning with what's dying. Okay, I'm going to check again my notes here, just in case there was something else I wanted to say that felt important. Yeah, there was another part I wanted to say. So many of you know this already. I did some earlier vlog post about this, but I did spend 30 years in Christianity. I was very much a gung-ho Christian, evangelical, liturgical, charismatic, all of the above, absolute sold out believer in everything Christian and biblical. And I was very much enmeshed in that. I had a Kundalini experience. I was catapulted out of that. And looking at this bigger picture of the ages and the shifting of the ages, it looks to me like I really had to be enmeshed in that system. I really had to be in that for half my life. And then to come into this. It matters to me that I have fully experienced everything that I've experienced so far. It's not conceptual, it's not mental only, it's embodied wisdom. And there's a reason why that has been my experience. I do believe I'm here for such a time as this. I believe you are too, especially if you haven't turned this off and you're still watching. There's a reason for that. And if all of this intrigues you, if all of this feels like it aligns with your soul, what I would like to do is to invite you to do your part in helping humanity go through this shift. We're not all going to do it. We're not all going to get there. And it's not going to be completed for another 100 years. So we will, I mean, sure, I could live to be 160, provided medical technology, which will flourish in the Age of Aquarius, catches up and helps me to, I don't know, reverse aging, stop aging. I'm willing. I like my earth suit. I like this life. I have so much more I want to do. So much more. So much more. My life in many ways has just begun and is entering this next stage that we're going through. But to be part of this shift in a way that accelerates your own growth, I do believe we have to do business with our unresolved wounds, our unresolved traumas, and our shadow, all of which is residing in the unconscious, subconscious realm. I did a blog post about this before the old year was out. You can find it in the archives. It's about shadow work, and the particular version that I've been using is called existential kink. And lest that word turn you off, and I know it will turn off, it will intrigue some, it will turn others off, and that's okay. It just simply means the ability to allow and embrace and find pleasure in a strong sensation, whether that be a physical sensation or an emotion. So it's welcoming something we don't think consciously we want to experience, but some part of us does want to experience it, because having is evidence of wanting. And if I deny the wanting, I perpetuate the having. But if I integrate that subversive, hidden shadow wanting with the conscious mind, if I make the unconscious conscious, then it will no longer rule me, and I'll no longer call it fate. And it seems to me that now, while we're in this time of transition, while we're in this time of this pandemic, it's kind of like we did all of this caterpillar consuming, and then we were called to come into this time of cocooning, a stillness, a quietness, an aloneness for many of us. And it's time to do the deeper work that we were too busy, too distracted, too afraid to do before. And now we're up against our stuff. Have you noticed? We're up against our stuff, and it's as though we have become the caterpillar that went into the cocoon and is turning into goo. It's a transition. And as a woman who's given birth 8 times, let me tell you that transition is the most uncomfortable, most frightening, most terrifying, most out of control stage of the birthing process. It's the worst. It's where you think you might die, and then you get scared you might not. It's where you hope they will cut off your legs and do whatever it takes to make it stop. It's intense. And what every woman who's given birth will tell you, it was right before the arrival of new life. So transition, this shitstorm you're going through, this horrible undoing of everything you've known, this dissolving of everything you once thought you could count on, it's a transition. And it's the harbinger of the new life to come, because that's how it works in this universe we're in. I believe I'm here for such a time as this. I believe you are here for such a time as this. So surrender to this transition. And while you're in this cocoon, do your shadow work. If you want help with that, I'll share what I've learned. I'm a neophyte. I'm just doing it, but I will share with you what I've done, what I'm learning. And every person so far that I've shared this with has had a magical, seemingly miraculous, fast change happen in their lives. Something where they felt stuck releases and they feel the magic. So I'll share that with anybody who wants me to share that with you. I'll pass that along. Yeah. So surrender, do your shadow work, and know that new life is right around the corner, the proverbial corner, because there are no corners in the birthing process, which is, I'm grateful. There were no corners. The visuals, those are bad. We're on the brink of new life, personally, collectively, because it all goes together in the age that we're being called into. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. I know, I heard the song too. I apologize if that gives you an earworm, but hey, it's not a bad one to have. So stay in your cocoon until you finally are ready to emerge, and know that the emerging is also a struggle, and the struggle matters because we need to build the strength from that struggle to break out of those confines so we can fly. I think that's all I wanted to say. Enjoy your goo, do your shadow work, surrender, and I'll see you when we can all fly. Bye-bye.